broker and owner of REMAX, Philip Skuman, in the building. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, Philip.
Morning, guys.
How you doing?
As always.
That's a nice stretch there.
Yes.
I can see you enjoying it.
All right, Philip, let's say I have my first loan, still subsist. Okay, I'm looking to apply for the second one. Is it difficult? How hard is it?
Not necessarily. Sometimes it's actually easier. But I think at this point it's important we differentiate that you could either take out an entirely new loan for an entire new property, or you could take a further advance if there's enough equity in your current home loan. And then you can, so let's say the property's worth 2 million, but you only owe the bank like 500. You could access that 1.5 million as well. And that could sometimes be even easier.
But then let's also look at maybe aspects that they actually look at before they grant that second loan.
Okay, so firstly, they're going to look at how you've been servicing your current bond and your current credit profile, because how you pay your Fushinis will affect that. And then secondly, if we take this further advance, if there's any equity in your current property and your affordability, your repayment ability, your ability to how much expendable income you've got at the end of the month to be able to service this bond.
All right.
The thing is, life happens, Philip. I got that second loan and I qualified and everything, and then I was consistent, and then life happened along the journey. So what happens if suddenly I find myself that I can't afford?
So, don't not pay. Call the bank and see if you can make a payment arrangement, if you can arrange a payment holiday or adjust your loan term. That's become quite prevalent, that people say, okay, this has happened, let's add 2-3 years to the bond term. That this can be negotiated.
Okay. Is there some things that I'll need to consider before taking that second or that third loan for another property? If there are any other options there? Because sometimes, that maybe the bank calls and says, hey, you can actually do this, but I hadn't considered, all the options.
So typically, if you take out a second bond or a third bond, you're not necessarily wanting to renovate your kitchen.
Okay.
You want to buy another property for investment. So then I would say look at what your future rental income is going to be. Some banks even consider this when you apply for the loan, especially now, because they are hungry for business. They see you've got a little bit of extra money. They'll take into account that the property that you're buying now is going to have a future rental income. So you yourself also need to consider this. How much is the bond going to cost you? What are the entry and exit or entry costs to the market to purchase the second property? What are your home loan servicing costs going to be? Your levies, rates and taxes, homeowners association, municipal rates and taxes. What are the effective income versus costs of this property going to be? And then to see whether you still have the belly to stomach this shortfall, because there will be a shortfall. This is why sometimes it might be better to take a further advance, because if the bank now, some properties you do find, and they are scarce, but they are unsuitable for mortgage purposes. Okay, let me use an example. There's a house, the average value in the area is 1.8 million, but you have successfully turned this into a functioning Airbnb or a guest house, and it's generating you 36 grand a month. Your bond is only going to be 18. There's a lot of profit there, but the bank won't finance it for you like that. So better to take a second advance on your already owned property that has equity in, pay this second property cash, and then you have a cash cow.
All right.
You mentioned earlier on that, so say you're taking this second loan, you said, assuming you won't be using it for like refurbishing the house or renovating. Can that actually happen? That you're taking a second loan and then you said you're going to use it for a property and then you redirect the funds?
100%. Clients do that all the time. They say they're going to upgrade their house or, put in a new kitchen. They want to borrow 30% extra on the bond or something. We want to renovate the house. And then they repurpose that money for buying a business. Because the bank doesn't want to finance you for a business. So this is why I always scream and shout, home loan bonds are the most powerful investment or financing vessel that we have in this country. It's cheap finance, long-term repayment ability, and you could easily generate profit from a business paying back your home loan.
All right. So the bank doesn't care what you're going to use that money for ultimately.
They do, but they They won't ask the questions necessarily. They do care, but the big thing they really care about is your affordability.
Affordability. Okay.
So if you could show that you're stable and that, then they'll give you the money, assuming that you would revamp the kitchen, and sometimes it never happens.
All right, we'll leave it here for today, Philip. Thank you so much. That's broker and owner of REMAX, Philip Skuman. In case you have any questions, suggestions for other topics we can talk about when it comes to property, let us know on 079-899-6226. Otherwise, email our producer at capricornfm.co.za.
Thanks, guys.
That was a Capricorn.